Welcome back, everyone. Today feels a little different. We're sitting in a coffee shop instead of our usual podcast studio. There are people talking around us, coffee machines making noise, cups clinking, and honestly, I think this is the perfect place for today's conversation because coffee shops are where real conversations happen. Nobody walks into a coffee shop expecting perfect grammar. People come here to connect, to share stories, to ask questions, to laugh, to communicate. And that's exactly what today's episode is about.
Noah, can I ask you something?
Of course.
How good does my grammar need to be before I can start speaking English confidently?
That's a big question.
I know, but it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. And honestly, I think a lot of English learners think about it too.
I agree.
Because every time I want to speak English, there's a voice in my head. And that voice says, wait, check your grammar first, make sure it's correct. What if you make a mistake? What if people laugh at you? What if you sound stupid? And before I know it, the conversation is over. I never say anything.
That's a feeling almost every English learner knows.
Really?
Absolutely. In fact, I think millions of learners around the world are experiencing that exact feeling right now. Maybe they're listening to this episode while commuting to work. Maybe they're studying late at night. Maybe they're sitting in a classroom. Maybe they're scrolling through videos trying to find the secret to fluency. But deep down, many of them have the same question. Do I need perfect grammar before I start speaking?
So what's the answer?
The answer might surprise you. No.
No?
No.
That's it?
That's it.
Then why do so many learners believe they need perfect grammar?
Because it sounds logical. Think about it. If you're learning to build a house, you want the foundation to be strong. If you're learning mathematics, you want to understand the basics first. If you're learning music, you want to learn the notes. So naturally, many learners think they need perfect grammar before speaking. It feels like the responsible thing to do.
That's exactly how I feel. Sometimes I tell myself, I'll start speaking more next month. Then next month arrives, and I tell myself the same thing. Maybe after I learn more grammar. Maybe after I finish this course. Maybe after I memorize more vocabulary. Maybe after I become better. But somehow that day never comes.
That's because perfection is a moving target.
What do you mean?
Imagine you're standing on a beach looking at the horizon. You start walking towards it. The horizon looks close, but the more you walk, the farther away it seems. You never actually reach it.
That's true.
Perfect grammar is often the same. Many learners think they'll finally speak when they reach some magical level. But when they get there, they discover another grammar rule, another tense, another exception, another thing they don't know. And suddenly they decide they're still not ready.
Wow, that sounds familiar.
It should, because I did exactly the same thing.
You?
Me.
But you're an English teacher.
Today, yes, but years ago, I was a language learner struggling with Spanish.
Really?
Really.
Were you nervous?
Terrified.
Seriously?
Absolutely terrified. And that's something people don't often talk about. We see fluent speakers and assume they've always been confident. We imagine they never felt awkward. We imagine they never made mistakes. But that's rarely true. Behind every confident speaker is a long history of mistakes.
What happened when you were learning Spanish?
Let me tell you a story.
I love stories.
This was years ago. I had been studying Spanish for quite a while. I knew vocabulary, I knew grammar rules, I could pass tests, I could complete exercises, I could fill in the blanks on worksheets. And honestly, I thought I was doing pretty well.
Sounds good so far.
It did sound good, until I had to talk to an actual person.
Uh-oh.
Exactly. One day, I visited a local event where many Spanish speakers were gathered. I remember standing outside before entering. My heart was racing, my palms were sweating, and I kept reviewing grammar rules in my head. Past tense, present tense, verb endings, pronouns, everything.
That sounds stressful.
It was, but I thought preparation would save me. I believed if I remembered enough grammar, everything would be fine.
And was it?
Not even close.
What happened?
I started talking to a man who was incredibly friendly. He smiled, he asked me questions, he was patient, and within 30 seconds, my brain completely stopped working.
No way.
Every grammar rule disappeared. Every sentence structure vanished. It felt like somebody had erased my memory.
That's exactly how I feel sometimes.
That's because language in the real world is different from language in a textbook. Real conversations move quickly. People interrupt. People laugh. People change topics. Nobody waits for you to review a grammar chart.
That's true.
And then came the embarrassing moment.
Oh no.
I wanted to say something simple, very simple, but I mixed up my words. I used the wrong tense, I used the wrong ending, and the sentence came out completely wrong.
What happened?
I froze. I thought, that's it. I've embarrassed myself. This conversation is over. He's going to think I'm ridiculous.
That's exactly what I would think.
But then something unexpected happened.
What?
He understood me.
Really?
Yes. Not only did he understand me, but he continued the conversation. He wasn't focused on my grammar. He was focused on my message.
Wow.
That moment changed something in my mind. Because after that day, I started noticing something interesting. The people who improved fastest weren't necessarily the people with the best grammar. They were the people willing to speak.
Even when they made mistakes?
Especially when they made mistakes.
That's hard to believe.
I know, but think about learning to ride a bicycle. Nobody says, wait until you're perfect before you get on the bike. That would make no sense. You become better by riding. You wobble, you make mistakes, you lose balance, and eventually you improve.
So speaking works the same way?
Exactly. Speaking is not the reward you get after learning. Speaking is part of the learning process itself.
That's a powerful idea.
It really is. And I think it's something many learners need to hear.
Because we're always waiting.
Yes.
Waiting until we're ready.
Waiting until we're perfect.
Waiting until we're confident.
And sometimes that waiting lasts years.
That's honestly sad.
It is. Because imagine all the conversations that never happen. All the friendships that never begin. All the opportunities that disappear. Not because someone lacked intelligence. Not because they lacked potential. But because they believed they weren't ready yet.
I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that.
I think so too. And if you're listening right now, maybe you've experienced that feeling. Maybe you've stayed silent in class. Maybe you've avoided conversations. Maybe you've typed the message and deleted it. Maybe you've rehearsed the sentence in your head 10 times and still decided not to say it. If that's you, you're not alone.
Definitely not alone.
And here's the good news. The problem might not be your grammar.
Then what is it?
The problem might be the belief that your grammar needs to be perfect before you deserve to speak.
Wow. That's a completely different way of looking at it.
And we're just getting started. Because after the break in our conversation, I want to talk about something I call the perfection trap. It's one of the biggest reasons learners stay stuck for years.
And honestly, I think I've fallen into that trap myself.
Most of us have. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and stay with us. Because this next part might completely change the way you think about grammar and speaking English. Welcome back, everyone. Before we continue, I want you to think about something. Imagine there are two English learners. Both are intelligent. Both are hardworking. Both genuinely want to become fluent, but they choose very different paths.
Okay, I'm listening.
The first learner spends most of their time studying grammar. They read grammar books. They memorize rules. They complete exercises. They know exactly when to use different tenses. They understand complicated sentence structures. But they rarely speak. In fact, they avoid speaking whenever possible.
That sounds like a lot of learners.
It does. Now let's look at the second learner. This learner also studies. But every day they try to communicate. They speak. They make mistakes. They forget words. They use incorrect grammar. They feel embarrassed sometimes, but they keep talking.
So which learner improves faster?
That's the question.
I think I know the answer.
Most people do.
The second learner?
Exactly.
Even though their grammar is worse?
Even though their grammar is worse in the beginning.
Why?
Because language is a skill, and skills develop through use. Imagine somebody who reads 10 books about swimming. They learn every technique. They understand how breathing works. They memorize every movement, but they never enter the water.
They wouldn't become a swimmer.
Exactly.
They would become an expert on swimming.
But not an actual swimmer.
That's a huge difference.
It is. And many English learners accidentally become experts on English instead of users of English.
Wow, that really hits hard.
It hit me hard too when I realized it, because there was a period in my own language learning journey when I knew a lot, but I couldn't use what I knew.
That's frustrating.
Very frustrating. Imagine carrying a toolbox filled with incredible tools, but every time you need to build something, you're too afraid to open the box.
That's exactly what happens with speaking.
Yes, learners spend years filling the toolbox: vocabulary, grammar, expressions, listening practice, reading practice. But when the moment comes to actually communicate, fear takes over.
And suddenly, none of it matters.
That's right, because communication requires action.
You mentioned something earlier called the perfection trap. What exactly is that?
The perfection trap is a cycle, and it's a very dangerous one.
How does it work?
It starts with a good intention. A learner says, "I want to improve my grammar." That's completely reasonable.
Nothing wrong with that?
Not at all. Then they learn more grammar, which is also good.
Still sounds fine.
Then they think, "I'm not ready to speak yet. I need just a little more grammar."
Uh-oh.
Exactly. So they study more. Then they discover another rule they don't know, another tense, another exception, another grammar point.
And they decide they're still not ready.
Yes. So they study more,
And the cycle repeats.
again and again.
That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. But the saddest part is that many learners don't realize they're trapped.
They think they're making progress.
Exactly. And to be fair, they are learning. Their knowledge is growing, but their confidence isn't.
That's such an important distinction.
Knowledge and confidence are not the same thing.
Say that again.
Knowledge and confidence are not the same thing.
Wow.
You can know a lot and still feel afraid. You can understand grammar perfectly and still panic when someone asks you a simple question.
I think many listeners have experienced that.
I think so too. Let me tell you another story.
Here we go.
A few years ago, I was sitting in a coffee shop, not unlike this one. I was traveling, and at the table next to me sat a man from another country.
Was he speaking English?
He was, and his grammar wasn't perfect.
Really?
Not even close. He mixed tenses, he forgot articles, sometimes his sentence structure was unusual.
So was communication difficult?
That's the interesting part. Not at all.
What do you mean?
He was one of the most effective communicators in the entire coffee shop.
Seriously?
Seriously. He spoke with confidence. He smiled. He listened carefully. He asked questions. He told stories. He connected with people.
Even with grammar mistakes?
Lots of grammar mistakes.
That's surprising.
At first, yes, but then I realized something. Nobody cared.
Nobody.
Nobody. The people around him were laughing, enjoying the conversation, sharing experiences, building friendships.
They were focused on the conversation.
Exactly. They weren't grading his grammar.
That's something learners forget.
Very often. Most people are not secretly evaluating every sentence you say.
That's reassuring.
It should be, because many learners imagine every conversation is an exam.
And every mistake becomes a disaster.
Right. But in reality, most conversations are simply exchanges between human beings.
That sounds obvious when you say it.
It does, yet we forget it.
Why do you think that happens?
Because school teaches us to fear mistakes.
That's true.
Think about it. In many classrooms, mistakes mean losing points. Mistakes mean wrong answers. Mistakes mean failure.
So we start associating mistakes with something negative.
Exactly. But language acquisition works differently. Mistakes are not evidence that you're failing. They're evidence that you're trying.
That's a completely different perspective.
Imagine a child learning to walk. They fall. Then they stand up. Then they fall again. Then they stand up again.
Nobody criticizes them.
Nobody says, "Come back when you can walk perfectly."
That would be ridiculous.
Exactly. Yet that's often how adults treat themselves when learning English.
Wow, you're right.
They say, "I'll speak when I'm perfect," which is basically saying, "I'll walk when I already can walk."
That makes no sense.
It doesn't, but fear isn't always logical.
That's true.
Fear often sounds reasonable, it sounds protective, it sounds responsible, but sometimes it's just keeping us stuck.
I feel like I've done that.
Most of us have.
Sometimes I tell myself I'm preparing, but maybe I'm actually avoiding.
That's a powerful realization, and I think many listeners are having that realization right now.
So how can someone tell the difference?
Great question. Ask yourself this. Are you studying because it helps you communicate, or are you studying because you're afraid to communicate?
Wow, that's a difficult question.
It is, but it's an important one.
Because the answer might reveal what's really happening.
Exactly. Now, I want everyone listening to imagine something.
Another experiment?
Another experiment.
I like these.
Imagine I have two buttons, button A and button B.
Okay.
If you press button A, your grammar becomes perfect instantly.
Sounds amazing.
But there's a catch.
Of course there is.
You never speak English.
Never?
Never.
That's a terrible deal.
Let's look at button B. If you press button B, you'll make mistakes every day. Sometimes embarrassing mistakes, sometimes funny mistakes, sometimes frustrating mistakes.
Doesn't sound great.
But you'll speak English every day. You'll communicate every day. You'll gain confidence every day. You'll improve every day.
I'd choose button B.
Me too. And I think most listeners would choose button B. Then here's the important question. If you would choose button B in theory.
Why aren't we choosing it in real life?
Exactly.
Wow.
That's the question I want everyone listening to think about. Because growth rarely happens inside your comfort zone. It happens when you're willing to be imperfect.
That's probably one of the hardest lessons in language learning.
And one of the most important, because the learners who eventually become fluent aren't the learners who avoid mistakes. They're the learners who survive mistakes.
I love that.
They keep talking. They keep trying. They keep showing up. And little by little, their confidence grows.
So maybe fluency isn't about becoming fearless.
Exactly. Maybe fluency is speaking even when you're afraid.
That's powerful.
And in the next part of our conversation, we're going to talk about something that surprises many learners. Native speakers make mistakes too.
Wait, what?
Oh yes, lots of them.
Now I'm definitely curious.
And we'll also talk about how to improve your grammar without letting grammar control your life.
That sounds like something every English learner needs.
I think so too. So stay with us, because we're about to get practical. Welcome back, everyone. So far, we've talked about fear, we've talked about perfection, we've talked about why waiting for perfect grammar can actually slow down your progress. And now I want to talk about something that surprises many English learners.
I'm ready.
Native speakers make mistakes.
I still find that hard to believe.
Most learners do.
Because when I hear native speakers talking, they sound so natural.
Natural doesn't mean perfect.
What's the difference?
A huge difference. Natural communication is messy. People interrupt themselves. People change direction halfway through a sentence. People forget words. People repeat themselves. People say things incorrectly.
Really?
Absolutely. Think about your own language.
Okay.
Do you always speak in perfect sentences?
No.
Do you ever start a sentence and then change your mind?
All the time.
Do you ever use the wrong word accidentally?
Yes.
Do you ever correct yourself while speaking?
Definitely.
Then congratulations. You're already speaking exactly like a human being.
That's funny.
But it's true. Real communication isn't a grammar textbook. Real communication is flexible. It's imperfect. It's human.
I think many learners imagine native speakers as grammar machines.
That's a great way to describe it. But native speakers aren't grammar machines. They're people.
So maybe we're holding ourselves to an impossible standard.
I think many learners are. They're trying to achieve a level of perfection that doesn't even exist in normal conversation.
Wow.
Let me tell you something interesting. Have you ever listened carefully to a conversation between native speakers?
Not really.
Most learners focus on understanding the meaning.
That's true.
But if you listen closely, you'll notice something.
What?
People constantly break grammar rules.
Seriously?
Sometimes intentionally, sometimes accidentally, sometimes because they're speaking quickly, sometimes because spoken language is different from written language.
That's fascinating.
The goal of communication is understanding, not perfection.
I feel like that's becoming the theme of today's episode.
Maybe because it's one of the most important lessons a learner can learn.
So if perfect grammar isn't the goal, what is?
Progress.
Progress.
Progress, not perfection.
Explain.
Imagine you record yourself speaking English today.
Okay.
Then you continue practicing for 6 months, reading, listening, speaking, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes.
Then I record myself again?
Exactly.
Hopefully I'd sound better.
Most likely you would.
Even if my grammar still wasn't perfect?
Especially if your grammar still wasn't perfect.
Why especially?
Because improvement never ends. Even advanced learners continue improving. Even native speakers continue improving.
That's actually comforting.
It should be, because perfection creates pressure. Progress creates momentum.
That's a good quote.
Maybe we should put that on the coffee mug.
I'd buy it.
Me too.
So let's get practical. What should learners actually do?
Great question, because I don't want listeners to think grammar doesn't matter.
That's important.
Grammar absolutely matters.
So we're not saying people should ignore grammar.
Not at all. Grammar is valuable. Grammar helps you express ideas clearly. Grammar helps reduce confusion. Grammar helps you communicate more accurately.
Then what's the difference?
Grammar should support communication. It shouldn't prevent communication.
That's a huge distinction.
Exactly. Think of grammar like training at a gym.
Okay.
The purpose of training isn't to spend your entire life inside the gym.
Right.
The purpose is to become stronger for real life.
That makes sense.
Grammar study should work the same way. Learn the rules, practice the rules, then go use them.
Instead of waiting forever.
Exactly.
So what would your advice be for someone listening right now?
I'd suggest a simple balance.
I'm listening.
Spend some time studying, spend some time listening, spend some time reading. But every single day, find a way to communicate.
Every day?
Every day.
Even for a few minutes?
Especially for a few minutes. People often underestimate how powerful small actions can be.
Can you give examples?
Absolutely. Talk to yourself in English.
I've heard that suggestion before.
And it works. Describe what you're doing. Describe your plans. Describe your surroundings. Tell yourself stories.
That sounds simple.
Simple doesn't mean ineffective.
Good point.
You can also record voice messages.
I like that idea.
Pick a topic, talk for 1 minute, then listen back. Not to criticize yourself.
That's important.
Very important. Listen to notice areas for improvement.
There's a difference.
A huge difference. One mindset creates growth. The other creates fear.
What else?
Shadowing.
I love shadowing.
Listen to a sentence, repeat it. Copy the rhythm, copy the pronunciation, copy the flow.
That's helped me a lot.
It helps many learners.
What about speaking with other people?
If you have the opportunity, absolutely do it. Language exchange partners, tutors, friends, online communities.
And what if someone feels nervous?
They probably will.
That's honest.
Confidence usually doesn't arrive before action. Confidence arrives after action.
Wow. That's another thing I wish more learners understood.
Many people believe confidence comes first, then speaking happens.
But it's actually the opposite?
Often, yes. You speak, you survive, you realize the world didn't end. Then confidence grows.
That's exactly what happened when you told your Spanish story earlier.
You're right. I made mistakes, I survived, then I became more confident.
Not because your grammar instantly improved.
Correct. My confidence improved first.
That's such an interesting idea.
Language learning is often as much psychological as it is educational.
I completely agree.
Let me ask you something, Allie.
Sure.
At the beginning of today's conversation, you asked how good your grammar needed to be before speaking confidently.
I did.
What would your answer be now?
Honestly,
Of course.
I think I was asking the wrong question.
Really?
Yeah, I was treating speaking like a reward, something I would earn after becoming good enough.
That's a powerful realization.
But now I think speaking is part of becoming good enough.
Exactly.
That's such a different mindset.
It changes everything.
Because if I wait until my grammar is perfect, I might wait forever.
That's the danger.
But if I start speaking now, I can improve while communicating.
That's the opportunity.
I feel like a lot of listeners needed to hear that.
I hope so, because I know what it's like to feel stuck. I know what it's like to doubt yourself. I know what it's like to think you're not ready.
So if somebody listening feels that way right now, what would you say?
I'd say this. You don't need permission to start speaking. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need a perfect vocabulary. You don't need to know everything.
That's powerful.
What you need is the willingness to begin,
Even imperfectly.
especially imperfectly.
I love that.
Because every fluent speaker you admire started exactly where you are. Confused, uncertain, nervous, imperfect.
That's easy to forget.
Very easy. We see the result. We don't see the journey.
We don't see the mistakes.
We don't see the awkward conversations. We don't see the embarrassing moments. We don't see the years of practice.
We only see confidence.
Exactly. But confidence has a history. Confidence is built one conversation at a time,
One mistake at a time.
one attempt at a time.
One brave moment at a time.
Exactly. And maybe that's the message we want listeners to remember from today's episode.
Not perfect grammar.
Not perfect grammar.
Progress.
Progress.
Communication.
Communication.
Courage.
Courage.
I like that.
Me too. So before we finish, let's leave everyone with one challenge.
Great idea. If you're listening right now, do one thing today that you've been avoiding. Speak English, even if it's only for a minute, even if you make mistakes, even if you feel nervous. Just start.
Because action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. And confidence creates growth.
That's a perfect way to end.
Thank you for spending this time with us today.
We hope this conversation helped you see English learning a little differently.
Remember, your goal isn't to be perfect.
Your goal is to communicate,
Keep learning.
keep speaking,
Keep growing.
and keep believing that you're capable of more than you think.
We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
And don't wait for perfect grammar before starting your next conversation.
Start today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.